Hello friends, Charlie Murphy here. Thank you for choosing my video. Today we're playing a session of 1-2 no limit 6 max regular tables on Ignition. Table 4 facing a raise and a re-raise from late positions. In the big blind, I'll fold my Queen 7 suited. Going to play cold 4-bet or fold in that spot. At least stacking off jacks are better as a default after the 4-bet and mixing in some suited Broadway ace-queen offsuit and mid-pocket pair type hands as bluffs that will fold to a rejam. Blind on blind, table 3, I will be defending a lot, but not 9-3 offsuit. Table 2 will open 9-8 suited from middle position. Table 4, Queen Jack under the gun is kind of close on the cusp. You could open it. I usually fold it. I would play it if I thought I had some weak players, especially in the blinds. Lean towards folding as a default, but it is pretty close. Table 2, after I open middle position, the small blind 3-bets me. In position can defend decently wide, but this formation is not particularly loose at the same time. I think the suited connectors are going to mostly be folded here. Probably be continuing with pairs like queens through 7s, my suited broadways, and my ace-king that doesn't 4-bet. Primarily 4-betting aces, kings, ace-king suited to stack off with an ace-queen offsuit as a bluff. Shorter stack over here on table 4 that looks promising. Player cold calling from the cutoff against the 2.5x open. Not automatic, but maybe an indicator he's a weaker player. Like we lost the recreational player. Do have a half stack filling in, so I guess we'll give this table a shot. Table 1, got a 3x open, blind down blind. I'll be defending pretty much all my suited combos there, including 10-4 suited. The 3-3 deuce two-tone board giving me the flush draw. That's a promising start. Table 3, going to open Queen 8 suited from the cutoff. Face a check on table 1. I'm going to go ahead and put in a small stab. Mostly barreling turns here. Probably would check back stuff that gives me showdown value like 10s or 4s and look to play a smaller 2-bet pot with those. Would not be bluffing on a 3 or a deuce, as my flush draw is pretty much dead at that point as well. Pretty much any other card I'd be barreling though. Table 1, going to open ace 7 blind on blind. Table 1, got Queen Jack suited middle position. I will certainly open that. Table 4, blind down blind, facing a 3x open. I got Queen 9 suited. I'll be playing that as well. I'd prefer to call as opposed to 3-bet that. Probably 3-betting Queen 10, Queen Jack, Queen King. Table 1, I'm going to go ahead and check to the in position caller on the monotone board. Table 2, against that limper, I'm going to go ahead and isolate up here. Let's see. On table 1, I'll just go ahead and check fold my Queen High, no club. Against that small bet over here on table 4, I think I can actually float that. I can turn some bluff catcher pairs, some flush draws, some gut shots. Got aces on table 1 and table 3, opening both of them, obviously. One from under the gun, the other from the button, but they're fine opens in either position. Now I get 3-bet by a short stack. Let me see here. I obviously can't 4-bet small. Table 4 against the second barrel, I'll just fold my Queen Eye, having not picked up any equity. Because the SPR is going to be so small here, I'm going to be able to get him all in. I don't want to blow his bluffs off to the extent that he has them. I think I'll just flat the aces, almost like I'm flatting aces against a 4-bet here because we're so shallow. Not exactly a dream flop for aces, but we're not going to be scared away with a little over about a pot and a half type size stack left in overpair. He checks. I'm going to go ahead and stab. I think I'm better off just jamming all in for 1.5x pot. Nah, I'll stab small. Give him a chance to spaz off with something marginal. Table 3, open ace-jack suited for middle position. A half stack comes along, get a jack 6-5 two-tone board, also giving me the backdoor flush draw. I'm going to go ahead and put in my small bet and be looking to get more money in and a lot of runouts here with top pair, top kicker against a half stack player. Turn is an 8, closes some straights and flushes, so it's not exactly an ideal card. Because of that, I'm going to stick to smaller bet size because I'm going to have a lot more one-pair hands, such as Jack X type hands that do want to bet but don't want to overbet, and narrow his range to be in much stronger hands like 2 pairs, straights, sets, and flushes. I'm going to continue using a half-pot bet here, and of course a hand like Ace-Jack I do want to keep betting. I can get called by worse jacks. Random pairs, pairs plus draws, you know, whether they're straights or flush draws or both. He check calls me. River is the king, offsuit king. Now he leads into me for 2/3. That's interesting. I was thinking about trying to value bet this myself, albeit somewhat on the thinner side. He's a fishy type player. I don't give a ton of merit to these donk bets. But let's see here. Check call bet actually is a lot less bluffy from fish than typical. This is a pretty marginal spot, honestly. I'm pretty sure I'm still going to call it, but... yeah, hero call this. Yeah, he got there with King 4. Gonna go ahead and open 3s under the gun. I think it's safe to label him as a recreational player based on the way that hand was played. Well, I guess his river lead is not too bad. Get raised in position. I'll just go ahead and fold the pocket 3s against that 3-bet. Raising a re-raise on table 3. I'll just go ahead and fold my Jack 10 from the blinds. Player playing a lot of hands and limping so far. We'll go ahead and tag him. 8-5 suited is way too loose to open under the gun. I do have a rec in there. I'm not going to get that wide with it, but I was thinking about it. Let's see. Table 1, I'll open Queen 10 from the cutoff. This is a guy that I thought was fishy because he was on a half stack. He doubled up, I think, before I was dealt in, so I probably won't be able to see the hand. Yeah, I didn't get to see it, but he was playing shallower. I think he may be a wreck. We'll watch and see what he does to say for sure. In table 1, I will shuffle out. Table 2, got a limper. Small blind goes ahead and attacks that button limper. I was going to go after him myself with Jack 9. Against that raise, I'm really going to mostly be 3-betting or folding here, and I think I'll fold a hand like Jack 9. Table 1, a sort of tight passive player min raises the button. I've got a sort of marginal defense hand like King 7. Against a reg that's opening appropriately there, I would defend for sure. Even against more like a cutoff open, this hand is kind of on the cusp. I think I will defend it, sort of treat this as kind of like the bottom of my range. Getting a bit tighter because I think this guy's been nitty, only played one hand so far in the first couple orbits. He bets 75% on the 8-9-5 two-tone board. I've got King 7 with the relevant single heart King of Hearts in my hand, plus a gut shot. I'm going to defend that once, take a turn. Pretty good turn for me. The King giving me an overcard. Gives me top pair in a way I probably shouldn't have too much King X, so it's a pretty good card for my particular hand. Table 4, facing the 3x open, blind on blind. Going to go ahead and defend that for a call with King 8. He overbets the turn, a slight overbet, 1237 into 1037. I'm going to go ahead and continue check calling with my king. I do have that gut shot to the straight as well. River is interesting. A 7 gives me 2 pair on a 4 straight board. A hand like Jack 10 just got there, unfortunately. Table 4, he checks to me in the 7-7-3 two-tone board. King 8, no real backdoor draw. I was going to go ahead and check back. Any runouts where this hand improves, I want the pot to stay a bit smaller as opposed to bloating it. Let's see, we're facing a triple here from the reg. Fold that ace barrel there with my king high on table 4. Let's see here. That sizing's about neutral. The triple barrel line's a little underbluffed. The 4 straight run out. I'm trying to think what he legitimately has here as bluffs. Because this guy is nitty, I'm not treating him like a true button aggressor in this spot. I guess he could have some hands like Queen 10. You know, against the nit, I think I'm just going to err on the side of caution and fold the close ones. Table 2, gonna isolate from the button with ace 5 suited against that recreational player limper. Everyone folds except the limper. Get a nice flop for my ace 5, the 8-6-5 two-tone board, giving me bottom pair and the nut flush draw. Table 4, I'll open 10-8 suited from the button. The rec check calls. Turn is a board pairing 8. I'm going to content to check this hand back now and look for an ace, another 5, ideally a club. I'm going to squeeze from the small blind here. I'm going to fold against that pot lead from the fish and the double paired board. Go ahead and squeeze the aces up. Table 4 checked around and checks to me on the turn the Jack-Jack 5 Queen flush draw board. I'll go ahead and stab small with my gut shot and plan to follow through. This King 4 suited, kind of on the cusp of a defense here against a small blind 3, but I'm going to take the flop with it. Now I get let into on the river there. And just go ahead and fold my 10 high multi-way, not try to do any kind of crazy bluff raising shenanigans. He leads out small. I can float with my gut shot here for 1 bet. I'm going to have various King X hands, some of which have paired up, some of which have didn't. I think I'm going to go ahead and use the ones that have not paired up as my bluffs, so they don't have any showdown value to bluff catch on the river. Go ahead and turn this into a bluff off hand right here with my pretty decent removal. Blocking ace, king, king, jack. Now there's a 4 straight out there. I got no choice but to turn this king high into a dust off. And I get it through. Table 4, opening king 10 suited from middle position. Table 3, opening queen jack from the cutoff. Table 1, opening king 5 suited from the cutoff as well. Table 4 against a suspected rec, get a second pair flop, jack 10 6 monotone. Going to go ahead and put in a small bet, mostly checking turns with this particular hand. Table 3, get called by the big blind, get an ace, king, deuce, two-tone board. Going to go ahead and put in a small bet. I get check raised on that monotone flop with no real robust equity, no real ways to make straights or flushes, all that conveniently. I'm just going to go ahead and fold my king 10. Table 3, got check called in the flop. Turn is a 5. It does complete the wheel stripe. Other than that, not really very much of a board-changing card. I'm going to be overbetting or checking this texture. I think I want to have more equity to overbet. I'm not going to overbet my weaker gut shots. If I were going to overbet some Broadway gut shots, I'd prioritize ones with a single heart in my hand and ones that don't have a club in my hand, as they block the flush draw continues and don't block the backdoor club draws that didn't come in that will fold. So I think this is a great combo to not barrel with if I'm going to be splitting. Check back, go to the river. Now he bets into me small out of position. We are not going to let that stand. I'm going to go ahead and put in a bluff raise. Got decent showdown value in table 1 with that king high and the double paired board. I think I'd be content to just show that down against the check. I think it's a little too weak to consider bluff catching. And he had 2 pair, so he made a reasonable bluff catch there against my raise. Table 4, we're going to open ace-queen blind on blind. Potential rec in there as he's limped already pre-flop. Only once, didn't see the context. Maybe he was limping behind or there was some reason for it, but it's awful suspicious. Table 2, gonna limp pocket 5s after the rec limps in, trying to find that third 5 cheaply. Another rec in the big blind as well, so it's not a bad place to be on the flop. Get a 9-7-4 rainbow board, checks through. Turn is a 9, completing, or putting a backdoor flush draw up there, rather, does not complete the rainbow. I'm going to go ahead and probe with this turn small. You know, folding out over cards is good to the extent that they do, or I'm ahead of them. And obviously the 5 is going to be a great card for me on the river. I can start going ham if I hit that. So I'm content to sort of stab small, see if I can take it away from stuff that isn't very strong, but does have some equity against my particular hand. Get a 2.2x open from the cutoff on table 3. I'm in the big blind with 4-3 suited. Very fine hand to defend, closing the action. We'll check on the flop. A great flop for me. 8-5-3 two-tone, giving me the flush draw as well. Now, I've already got a lot of potential check raises here, like 6-7-4-6. I think given that I do truly have a bit of showdown value, and cards like the 3 and the 4 aren't as strong as making something like a nut straight or nut flush, I think I'm content to play this in the more passive line, especially against a little bit bigger flop bet, a half pot bet, as opposed to the small bet. I think I'm going to check call that as opposed to check raising. Check raising can't be too bad either, though. I face a second turn barrel. Going to go ahead and continue calling. The 5 counterfeits some of my outs if I'm against actual hands, but he could be bluffing draws, overcards, whatever. Board stays low. River is a 7, doesn't improve me. I'm going to check to him. Not much sense in leading there, but there may be some merit in bluff catching. That board running out low like that. That's about 80%. It's a pretty neutral sizing. The triple barrel line's a little less bluffy than average. This formation's also probably a little less bluffy than average. He's reasonably aggressive, but not enough we can make any real determination on that. And it's a low board staying low, so that's a good excuse to hero call. This is pretty marginal. I think it's going to be a reasonable spot to bluff catch, though. Yep, picked off the triple. Busted flush draw. And that real low board staying low was a factor that tilted that towards a call for me. Plus, he seems like he's, you know, a reasonably good aggressive type reg from the stats I've seen so far, using that 2.2x sizing pre-flop. Now we've got a cutoff open 2.5x. I'm going to go ahead and put in the 3-bet with ace-queen. This guy's been a little on the reserve side so far, but probably not enough to tell me much of anything through a couple orbits. I'm just going to go ahead and treat this like a standard spot. Be 3-betting my ace-queen. Table 3, going to open ace-deuce suited from middle position. A player buying in short, that new player over there on table 4, which is a promising sign. Get a 10-9-8 two-tone board. This hand actually does benefit from having some better ace-x type hands fold out. I'm going to go ahead and put in that bet. Mostly slowing down on the turn. If I get called, I think I'll check back the deuce. I guess the deuce gives me some outs to barrel to turn aces up or trip deuces, but I think I'd rather just play that in the check back line. He checks again. I'm not going to try to bluff him off a 10 and 8, anything like that. He's got some kind of goofy ace-high showdown value hand that he's not bluffing. I think I'll just take my showdown here. Yeah, he doesn't turn his king-high into a bluff. I think that's probably a mistake. Table 1, going to open Jack-9 on the button. Got called by the big blind on that 6-4-3 board. I'm just going to go ahead and put in a small bet. This would be a fine board to split as well if you would like, and not just bet everything small. Table 2, get a 3x open from the middle position player. I'm going to go ahead and actually fold the 5-3. Kind of on the cusp, I think I can go ahead and fold that one. Get called on table 1, turn as a 7, pairs the board. I've got some overcards. They make decent value bets or bluff catches. Rather be barreling to make the pot bigger with hands that actually have some equity, like a 5, maybe some 8x type hands even, some club draws. I'll check back to Jack-9, no relevant suit. River is a 10, doesn't help me, but in theory I could have Jack-10 as opposed to Jack-9 in the same way. He goes ahead and bets into me small. We're not going to let that stand. Small bet should not be getting through, so I'm going to go ahead and bluff raise. I could have some trap boats. I could have rivered some flushes that didn't barrel the turn. And he can just have so much weak bullshit that can't stand up to the raise. He's going to fold it without it making a ton of sense. Very nitty player. Only the second hand he's raised opens the cutoff. I have ace or queen jack suited rather. I'm going to treat him like it's a tighter spot, even if this is more like an under the gun open because he's been so nitty. I can still 3-bet queen jack suited, so I'm going to be a bit cautious because of this guy's nitty tendencies through the first couple of orbits. But I am still going to have some hands that are weaker, more mergy, marginal 3-bets mixed in there. Queen jack probably right around the cusp for a spot like this. I get a Jack-10-7 rainbow board. I've got what is going to be my worst jack. I don't have Jack-10 here. That's also a board where, well, I do have Jacks and 10s. I don't have 7s. I don't have 9-8. He might have some of those. I'm going to go ahead and actually not bet this small. I'm going to try to play this in a smaller pot check back line. Turn is the 9 that puts the 4 to the straight out there, which ought to slow him down with a lot of combos and gives me an open ender to go with my top pair. The only real bad card for me is an ace, as everything else either, gives me straights, 2 pairs, trips, or is a low blank. I'm going to continue checking back. River is the 6. I guess the question comes down to, is there merit in trying to value bet this if he triple checks to me? I don't even know that a hand like Ace-King necessarily hero calls here. Ace-King, Ace-Queen. However, him leading into me, I think I can go ahead and hero call that. That size is about neutral, but this line is going to induce a lot more bluffs by having me checked a few times. We've got these 4 straight boards out there. I think this is a fine hero call. And he managed to turn 2 pair with 6-7. Maybe he's not as nitty as I first thought if he's opening that and calling the 3-bet out of position. I do think my line is good, though, based on what I thought I knew about the guy. And he's still playing 19-8 over 27 hands, so the idea that he's opening a ton of hands is probably not really accurate. His river value bet is good, though, getting that merge in there, as I'm obviously not going to be having too many hands that beat 2 pairs. As those are going to have put some money in and some earlier straight, so I do think his river bet there into me for sort of thinner merged value, betting a small 2 pair and that 4 straight board is good. I'm going to be hero calling pretty aggressively in that line, having not put any bets in yet. And where that check down river probe line tends to be pretty bluffy. Yeah, it's a slam dunk call. Table 1, facing a min raise from the button. I'm in my big blind with 6-5. I'll be defending very wide in this formation against that min raise size. I'll be check folding the 10-10-8 rainbow flop, though. Small bet, but I'm still folding against that. Table 2, we have a recreational player on about 70 blinds, open limps under the gun. I'm going to go ahead and pop him up with ace-9, so this is probably one of my weaker hands I'd raise up with against a limper from the blinds, but I still think it's reasonable to do. Just sort of towards the bottom of the range of my raise hands. Checking it in, of course, would be fine as well. I think raising will perform a little bit better, though. Table 1, I'll open ace-10 from the button. Table 2, I don't really play 10 deuce suited, but we have a recreational player limps another rec in the blind. I'll complete my small blind and see if I can't hit something kind of disguised and play a big pot against players that seem to be pretty weak. They all check around on the flop. 9-5-3 rainbow. Turn is a deuce, giving me a weak pair, putting the backdoor flush draw. Then go ahead and jab at it small. River 2 pair, gonna go ahead and try to get some value out of that 10 now. Quickly called, and I was against a set of deuces that never found a raise. Well played, sir. Rec open limps middle position on table 2. I'll isolate from the button with jack 10. Gonna keep getting involved with these recs. Gonna keep looking to make hands and win big pots. Ace-9 a little on the loose side to isolate, but these regs haven't been too problematic with the 3-betting. I've, a pretty weak rec limping, a very high VPIP rec, 73-4 with 75% limp, so I'm going to go after him with the ace-9. Most aggressive reg at the table decided not to have that. Since I'm already pretty out of line with this isolation, I'm not going to do anything but go ahead and fold against that. But until these guys are going to punish me for isolating a very special wreck like we see over here in the 5-seed, I'm going to just do it and force them to do something to make me stop. So if I can get to the flop with the ace-9, or if I pick up the blinds pre-flop, of course, that's insanely profitable. But if I can get to the flop against just the wreck with ace-9, that's going to be a good spot to be in too. So as long as I think I've got a good chance to either pick up the pot pre-flop or get isolated against the wreck in position, very, very special wreck type guy, I'm going to be doing it with as many hands as possible until someone gives me a good reason not to, such as aggressive 3-betting from the 3 seat. He seems to be doing that to some extent. He's 3-bet 3 times in 14 chances. He's got some pretty reggy aggressive stats overall. But he's just one guy at the whole table. He alone can't make up the 3-bet responsibilities for the group as a whole just by himself. So I'm not too worried about one guy coming after me. This guy seemed fishy based on the half stack early on. Nothing in his play is indicating that that's truly the case with him. This guy's limped a couple hands though, so I will go ahead and give him a tag. Get a 3x open from a reg-type player in the cutoff up there on table 2. I've got 8-6 suited. It's going to be a pretty reasonable hand to defend for a call. We'll do that. Go to the flop. Get a jack 6-4 two-tone board. Not the best board for this hand to start facing barrels is... I guess the 6 is going to be pretty good if I can find some of that. But even the 8, I'm going to be worried about 5-7, in addition to, I guess, a hand like Jack 8 or some sets. Go ahead and check call that pair once. Turn is a 3. That's a pretty good card for me. Really shouldn't do too much for his hand or range. He checks back. Now, the river is a jack. I just don't know that there's going to be a ton of showdown value type hands in his range that I beat where I can get value from. I think I'm going to be better served to check and try to check down or pick off a bluff here. And that jack on the river makes it a lot harder for him to have top pair. Against that small bet, I'm just going to hero call this. He gets 9-8, trying to get a cheap bluff through. I'm going to go ahead and attack this isolation raise over here. I've got a limp and an ISO. I've got ace-queen in the small blind. And I get that one through. Be stacking off with jacks or better if he 4-bets me. Or if he jams all in, I guess. Against a smaller 4-bet, I can have some jams and some calls. Table 1, got a 3x open, blind on blind. I'll defend with 6-3 suited. Go to the flop. Decent board for the 6-3, 6-deuce, deuce, two-tone, giving me a backdoor flush draw. I'm going to go ahead and stab at it small. Either charge or deny equity from the overcards that are pretty live against me. Table 2, going to go ahead and isolate the limper from the button. This time I got queens. Table 1, he check calls the small bet. Turn is a 9, a flush closing 9. I'm going to go ahead and have to continue betting here and try to check back the river. If he's got single heart hands, I want to charge them or make them fold. Table 2, he limp calls, get a king, king 7, two-tone board. Going to go ahead and put in a small bet. Pretty clean river for me, that 9 on table 1. Go ahead and try to check back my 6 now and try to beat some ace-high type stuff or random high cards. He stumbled into ace-9, but he didn't get the third better to me because I knew enough to check back. The table 2, he check calls the flop bet. Turn is a 7, making it a double paired board. It's a great spot to check back my queens. Really no bad cards for me except the ace. Really not all that much in the way of great cards. Now he leads into me for full pot. Feel like he's done that before on the double paired board, which already has me a bit suspicious. Check call, check bet tends to be a bit over bluffy. And these double pairing boards are not necessarily under bluff from fish. We are going to call this one down, and we snap off the busted flush draw. I'm not going to go after him with ace-8 this time. Table 1 got open 3s under the gun. A little on the loose side, but reasonable. Do have a rec in there I can go after if I hit my set. Get a queen 8 deuce rainbow board. I'll just go ahead and check to him. Checks back. I can probably start jabbing at the turn for the most cases, thinking he's probably going to be a bit on the weaker side. The check back lines are usually not well protected all across the game tree. He checks. Not the best card for the 3s, as that jack coordinates pretty heavily with stuff that he could have. I think I'm actually going to go ahead and just continue checking that particular card. I'm really not folding out any pairs plus gut shots. On the river, maybe I can get him through, but maybe I can't. I think I'll just go ahead and check, play a bit more of a blue line type strategy with this hand as opposed to just blasting. It's probably pretty neutral EV either way. Now when he blasts for pot, I am just way out the way. Recreational player limps over here on table 3. I will check in my big blind with 8-9 of spades. The small blind has come along as well. I'm going to check on the ace-king 8 board. I do have the backdoor flusher to go with my third pair. He bets for pot. I'm a little concerned he's got a decent bit of ace-x in his range. However, like my 8s and 9s should all be pretty clean outs, plus I've got backdoor spades. I'm going to peel once here and see what card comes off. Good card for me, that 9 that completes the rainbow, giving me the bottom 2 pair. Going to check to the recreational player again. Can see this guy overvaluing ace-x type hands. He shouldn't really have too much in the way of limped ace-king, and I block ace-8, ace-9. I guess he could have a little bit of king-8, king-9, but I block those too. I think I want to go after the rec pretty heavily here, even though this hand is a little on the weak side. Go ahead and check raise him to about 35, about 75% of pot, and look to get it in on the river as long as we don't see an ace or a king. Seven is not the best river, but not the worst. I want to really try to punish his ace-x that gets too sticky, so here we go. Quickly folds. Get a limp from the button, and the small blind isolates him to 6. I'm in the big blind with ace-4 suited, trying to decide how many hands I can re-raise here. I'm going to treat this almost like a cold 4-bet spot, as we're going to start getting pretty bloated. Probably only want to be stacking off with queens or better if he ships on me. I think ace-4 suited is just going to be a little bit too loose to go after him with there. Table 3, the rec limp, so I'm going to complete the small blind with 8-7. We'll check on the flop. Big blind bets for 2/3 on the 7-6 deuce two-tone board. I'm going to check call with my weak top pair, check the turn. Table 4, opening queen 10 suited from under the gun. We get a 3x open from middle position. The rec calls. This button has been isolating the rec aggressively, goes ahead and squeezes. I'm in the small blind with pocket 10s. I think the 4-bet size here should be about 27. Maybe stacking off queens are better. I think actually having 10s in my cold 4-bet range is just a little bit too wide and loose. I'm going to go ahead and fold. I'm a little bit suspicious of this guy going after this weak rec type player here the way he is, but I'm not going to get too out of line with the way I go after it. The queen 10 hand, I get a family pot, or pretty close to it. The small blind folds, but the in-position players and big blind all call. I'm going to be checking range sandwiched between all these guys. I do have a pretty strong hand here. Queen 10 on the queen deuce rainbow rather board. That said, the stuff that's real strong has me crushed, such as better trips and deuces full. I guess I also have some queen 9, but this is actually one of my weakest trip hands right here. I'm going to go ahead and call the half pot stab from the button with my trips. Get a 4 of diamonds. I'll continue checking. Now he goes and he blasts again, and quite frankly, this just is very hard for me to give him credit for bluffing on a board that dry with very little in the way of natural bluffs and so multi-way. I'm actually going to go ahead and do something amazingly nitty and fold the trip queens right there. My hand is just not nearly as strong as it looks, given all those players on the board, the lack of other legitimate draws, and the fact that I'm actually in very bad shape against the legitimate value hands. Get a cutoff open, calls from the button, small blind. I am in the big blind with ace-10 suited. Let's see here. We can go ahead and squeeze that up. It's almost like a cold 4-bet or fold spot because that pot's getting so bloated so quickly. I can still be squeezing my suited broadways. Pocket 9s are better. Ace queen, this range is kind of like that. Table 3, gonna open 8s from the cutoff. Everyone folds but the big blind. Lousy flop for the 8s. King Jack 9, two-tone. We'll go ahead and stab at this flop small. And slow down on pretty much any turn. I guess 8s I can just keep betting. Table 2, opening King Deuce suited from the button. Table 4, we get a blind on blind limper. I'm going to pop him up with ace queen. Quickly calls. Good flop for ace queen. The ace 9-4 rainbow board. Checks. Go ahead and put in that small bet. Table 3, opening ace 6 suited from middle position. He goes ahead and check calls the flop. Turn is an 8, putting a flush draw up there. I'm going to go ahead and continue barreling the ace queen. I'm going to use the overbet size here. Table 3 got called in position by a recreational player. Going to go ahead and check to him on the 8-6-4 monotone board. He leads into me for half pot on that 10 river. If I had a stronger hand, I would be value shipping for sure. I think ace queen, I'm obviously not folding to that. I think I'm going to be better served just to call. He's probably trying to block a weak 1 pair type hand, but it's possible he turns some kind of 2 pairs that I'm not going to be able to fold out, and I'm not going to get enough value from weaker. I just don't think there's enough merit in value raising. Just go ahead and take the call. And he managed to turn 2 pair with 10-9. Not so sure calling that turn over bet's the best of ideas. 10-9 offsuit, but yeah, when you're calling those turnover bets, especially out of position or larger bets in general, the larger bet means ranges are probably polarizing more and more towards nutty type hands, and it should be less thin value. And so you want to be thinking about the cards that improve your hand on the river. What is that situation going to be? You know, do the river cards that improve your hand also make even better hands for the other guy's range? And so when you're sitting there on the ace 9 4 8 board, a hand like 9-10, in my opinion, is not a great hand to defend that second barrel, especially a large barrel. Just because the 10 is going to make hands for me that crush 9-10. Like my sets and my aces up are already going to be ahead of you. Even when you improve, I have a hand like 6-7 or Queen Jack. You know, the 10 that makes him 2 pair also puts straights out there. I think that's not the best situation to put yourself in. I think he would have been better served by folding. Table 1, we get a min raise from the button. I'm in the big blind with pocket 8s. I'm going to go ahead and put in my 3-bet. Table 4, going to open 7-6 suited from the cutoff. My 8s get called. I'm going to go ahead and put in a small flop bet on the Jack 7-6 rainbow board. He calls. 6 is a decent card for me. I think bluff-wise, though, you know, weaker hands that aren't necessarily true value hands, I want to be betting things like 8-9, club draws. I think these mid-pocket pairs are going to play much better as checks, and go ahead and check with my 8s. He continues checking. I can check down. I really can't fold out a jack or a king by leading here. I don't really know. I don't know that I fold out too many pairs like pocket 9s or 10s. If he has those, it shouldn't be a big part of his range. I doubt I fold very much of them anyway. Pocket 7s may check back. Some ace high type stuff may check back. Yeah, just better served, I think, in the check line there. He checked back 9s. I think that's a smart move, and just unfortunately, they're slightly better than my 8s. I'd rather reopen the river as a bluff with hands that just have no showdown value whatsoever. You know, random ace highs, some just unpaired high card type hands that weren't good enough to bluff the turn. I guess not really have any low pocket pairs. I think my worst pocket pair there is pocket 7s, which is going to be very strong on that board. So a hand like ace queen, ace 10, ace 5, ace 4, I'll make some pretty reasonable river bluffs. If I didn't bet 10-9 on the turn, that'd be a good one. Queen Jack, Queen 10, Queen 9. Get a 2.5x open from the button on table 4. I'm in the big blind with 6-4 suited. We'll defend that for a call and go to the flop. Against that small bet, I guess you have a backdoor spade draw. Other than that, I've only really got 6 high. I'll just go ahead and check fold. I guess the dream card, if I attack that, is going to be the 3 of spades. I think I'd rather check raise with hands that also have some removal to the queen. Table 2, going to defend the blind down, blind open with king 9. Go to the flop. He bets into me. Looks like about 40% or so of pot. 233 into 570. Going to go ahead and defend my second pair top kicker. I do have a backdoor diamond draw as well with that king of diamonds in my hand. He checks the turn. I'll go ahead and check back my middle pair. Try to get this towards showdown as cheap as possible. He checks. Not much merit in trying to fold out an ace in this in the call check bet line. I guess I could try to get some value from worse. I just don't know I get enough value from enough worse hands. He should have a decent bit of ace-x there that is actually strong. Yeah, and a hand like Queen Jack, I'm good against either way, and he's not going to call. So I think checking back there with my 9 is okay. Table 3, get a 2.5x open from the cutoff. I will defend my big blind. Actually, no, I've got Queen 9. I thought it was Queen Jack for a minute, which I would defend. Queen 9, I will fold. Would defend Queen Jack, Queen 10, fold Queen 9. Table 4, opening ace deuce suited from middle position. Get called by a somewhat fishy type player in the cutoff and then squeezed by the button. That's just going to be a fold. Get a 3x open under the gun on table 3. It's a little bit too loose to defend for a 3-bet, and I'm really not doing much in the way of calling against a 3x sizing. There, I guess a hand like pocket 8s is one of the best candidates for defending with a call. I'm just still not sure that it's all that much merit in doing it. Fishy player in the blinds may make it a bit better as he's going to come along and do stupid stuff post-flop, but... Table 2, get a 3x open from the cutoff. I am on my button with ace-10 suited, and we're going to go ahead and put in that 3-bet. Three-betting pretty aggressively. All my suited broadways, pocket 7s or better, ace-jack plus king-queen, suited wheel aces, and maybe a couple of suited connectors get in the mix there too. You know, 12 to 13%, something like that. Surprisingly, not as many rec or fish type players in the pool as I would have thought right now. It's a Sunday afternoon on NFL Sunday. Maybe they're all watching the 1 o'clock games to sweat their sports bets, and they'll be swimming around later on tonight. But I really thought the games would be a little bit better in 1-2 than they look right now. Have been some players, and it's not like the pool is filled with professionals and world beaters at this point right now. But not as many true fish as I'm used to and expecting to find. And this table looks to be reg infested, all 100 blind stacks. Table 2, get a 3x open from the button. I'm in the small blind with 10-8 suited. And that's kind of close. This guy's aggressive. He may play back at me a bit too much. His hand's already pretty marginal on the cusp. I think I'm just going to go ahead and fold it. It's kind of outside my standard range there as well. Okay, this guy may be a weak player as he's using a very unpreferred 3-bet sizing. He pops a 3x open up to 5x, and then he quickly folds to the 4-bet. Table 3, get a 3x open blind on blind. I will defend with ace-7, go to the flop. Table 2, if what's effectively the cutoff or middle position opens 2.5x, I will 3-bet my button with ace-jack suited. Suspected rec up here on table 4 opens 3x. I'll 3-bet my button with king-10 suited. Table 3 facing the small bet with top pair on the ace-queen-9 board. I'll defend. This guy, he goes and he puts in a small 4-bet. Get 4-bet with the ace-jack hand as well. 4-bet to a more appropriate size. That's going to be a fold in these formations. Table 3 can go ahead and check back. Keep that pot smaller with my kind of marginal top pair. I'm going to float the 4-bet here because it's such a small size. I've got a good hand to defend, like queen-10 suited. Probably not going to start making too many plays on this guy post-flop. Like a board like this, when I'm calling 4-bets, I'm going to attack pretty heavily because it's a low board. No aces, no kings, no queens kind of thing in there. I'm going to go ahead and try to get some thin value with this ace here on the coordinated board. A queen or a jack can probably still pay me off. I'm not going to play back at this half-pot continuation bet here from a suspected weak player, and I've got king-high backdoor flush draw. I'll just go ahead and fold that one. If I had queens or jacks or trapped aces, I'd be obviously putting more money in with those. I think with stuff like ace-queen suited backdoor flush draw, I would even be folding there against that more healthy flop bet size. It's a pretty big flop bet for the 4-bet pot for the SPRs being as small as they are. Not as much play left behind this that really where I'm going to benefit from peeling backdoor draws. I think just folding in that spot is going to be the move. Get a 2x open from the cutoff on table 3. I'm in the button with king 9. We're going to be popping that up. Get called. Decent flop for king 9. 9-5-3 two-tone. And we'll go ahead and start things off with a small bet. Now he check raises me. That aggression factor stat's only over 4 samples. It's pretty meaningless. A board like this in a loose formation, he should be check raising some backdoor type draws. I mean, it's possible he has overpairs like 10s, jacks, queens that he just is going to stack off with as well. I think I want to shut down the overcard backdoor flush draw equity. I mean, I can have good overpairs myself that are also somewhat vulnerable. Like, I guess my sets like pocket 9s I would just trap with here. But this hand, I think I just want to go ahead and reship all in. If I run into an overpair, that stinks, but I do have some outs to try to outdraw him. If he's check raising draws, I can make him just put the money in all in now with the draw, or fold his overcards and backdoor flush draw type hands that really should, I don't know how much these guys are doing that, but you probably should be check raising the flop with hands like king, queen of spades. There we go. Feels like I finally win a pot here. I don't know if I've done too much of that this session, but at least I picked up that one. Table 1, opening jacks from middle position. Get 3-bet. Against a 3-bet of that size, I could 4-bet or I could call. Don't know too much about this player. I think the player pool is probably not crazy out of control aggressive. I think it's going to be slightly better as a call, but 4-betting is also reasonable. Let's see. We get a 3x open blind on blind. I'm going to pop that up with queen 7, just 3-betting a few of my offsuit junky hands that aren't quite good enough to defend with a call. Jacks over here on the 6-3 deuce rainbow board. I think there's no decision here, but just go ahead and check raise and go with the hand. So I'll go ahead and check raise. Hope I'm not against queens plus. Yeah, see, when the decision to 4-bet or call, when you call pre-flop, you keep more of his bad hands in and you can pick up the extra bet on the flop when you check raise the favorable flops and just go with it. If you're 4-betting to stack off, you're gonna pay off queens, kings, and aces no matter what you do. I'm going to do it pre-flop, or I'm going to do it on that low 6 high board when I'm sitting on pocket jacks. But by calling the 3-bet pre-flop and going to the flop on those low boards, I give him a chance to go ahead and stab, make his continuation bet. Then I can go ahead and check raise him, and and force him to fold out his equity at that point, and I pick up the extra bet. But if I was truly sure that he was wide enough pre-flop, I could be 4-betting jacks there, but I think 4-betting jacks is probably pretty marginal unless you know these players are truly sufficiently aggressive. And in most cases, these online players, they find a lot of the 3-bets, but there's some spots they don't quite find all of them. Table 1, opening ace-7 suited from the cutoff. Big blind comes along, get a 6-3 deuce two-tone board. I do have the backdoor club draw here. I'm going to go ahead and put in a small bet. Can barrel on clubs, mostly slowing down on other cards. Face a check raise, a small check raise here, a relatively small check raise. I guess it's not that small, it's about appropriately sized, but I can go ahead and actually float here with a wide variety of hands. Spade draws, backdoor club draws, strong hands as well. I think I'm going to go ahead and float the ace-7 of clubs. Mostly looking to pick up a club somewhere and stack him on a backdoor club run out. Turn is the 7. I do have top pair, but now I'm really not in great shape against much of anything, and there's not many great rivers for me. I guess if he's got some kind of total airball, or a single ace hand, like a hand like ace-5 or ace-4 with the ace of spades would be a great hand to bluff here. I'm just not willing to give these guys credit for having their range constructed that well to have the proper bluffs on that particular card. I'm going to go ahead and fold out now. Table 4, 2.5x open from the button. I am in the big blind with 8-7 suited. I'm going to go ahead and put in a 3-bet. Comes along for a call, get a king 9-8 two-tone board. Go ahead and put in a small bet. Table 3, gonna open the cutoff with king 10. King 10 faces a 3-bet, and I will just get out of the way. Lost the recreational player on that table, so I'll be looking to replace that table with one that may be a bit juicier here for the last couple of rounds of this session. These tables are pretty atrocious. Actually, these tables look lousy, and I was going to shut down pretty soon anyway to go watch the Browns game, so I'm going to pull the plug a few minutes earlier than I had planned. Games just don't look all that great to justify the time, effort, and hassle of sticking around, so I'll wrap the session up a few minutes early. Table 4, gonna open King Deuce suited from the button. Get a 2.5x open under the gun on table 4. Gonna go ahead and 3-bet middle position with ace queen. 3-betting 8 to 9% here against the under the gun open. 9s plus ace queen plus king queen, a couple wheel aces and most of the suited broadways. He folds out. Last hand under the gun is 4 deuce suited, which I am going to be folding. So that's going to be the end of it for me, at least for now. Until next time, this is Charlie Murphy signing off. I'd like to thank you for watching my video. I'll see you next time.